If you are picking a residential proxy provider in 2026 and you are still going on gut feel or a review from 2 years ago, you are probably overpaying. Decodo and Bright Data are the two names that come up most often in this space, and the pricing gap between them is not subtle. I have wired both into production systems. Let me give you the actual numbers so you can make a real decision, not a marketing driven one. The numbers that actually matter. Decodo, which used to be called Smart Proxy, starts at about $2.20 per gigabyte on pay-as-you-go. At 100 gigabytes a month, that drops to around 180 per gig. At 500 gigs, you are closer to 140. Now here is Bright Data, $8.40 per gigabyte on pay-as-you-go. 500 gigs gets you down to 350 per gig. 2 terabytes a month gets you to 230. That is not a rounding error. A 100 gigabyte SEO crawl on Decodo runs you about $180. The same job on Bright Data at pay-as-you-go rates can hit 840. A 500 gig recurring collection job is roughly 700 on Decodo versus 1750 on Bright Data. For most mid-sized teams, those numbers should clarify the decision immediately without needing a spreadsheet. Where Bright Data earns its premium, Bright Data is expensive, but it is not irrational. You are paying for more than bandwidth. The real operational advantages are longer sticky sessions, up to 24 hours, stronger geo and ASN level targeting, and a broader product stack layered on top of the raw proxy service. Tools like Scraping Browser and SERP API. If your work involves long browser sessions, logged-in flows, or cart-level automation, where a session drop means starting the whole thing over, Bright Data's 24-hour session ceiling is not cosmetic. It is a real engineering advantage. Decodo's dashboard is noticeably easier to get running, and that matters more than vendors will ever admit. A tool your analyst or engineer can configure in 20 minutes is often worth more than a theoretically stronger platform that needs billing approvals, compliance review, and a week of setup friction before your first test request goes through. On paper, Bright Data claims over 150 million residential IPs. Decodo claims around 115 million. Bright Data leads on raw scale, but pool size is one of the most abused metrics in this market. The better question is whether you can get stable, relevant exits for your target geography and session model. Decodo's sticky sessions cap at around 30 minutes in standard self-serve usage. Bright Data holds sessions for up to 24 hours. For short rotation jobs across public pages, Decodo is usually fine. For anything requiring a consistent identity over time, that gap shows up directly in your error and session reset rates. Bright Data also leads on targeting granularity. City-level and carrier-level controls are more precise when you actually need them. If you are managing accounts on platforms that care about geo-consistency or running tests that need to look like one real user in one real location over a long session, that depth pays for itself. What blows up your bill? Neither product is complicated to wire up. Both support HTTP, HTTPS, and SOCKS 5 with standard proxy authentications. The real complexity hits after your first successful request when you are managing retries, country routing, sticky state, and failure budgets at actual scale. Residential bills blow up for 4 reasons almost every time. Fetching full pages when a lightweight API endpoint or a cached source would do the job. Retrying too aggressively on soft blocks, which burns gigabytes fast, using residential IPs on targets that would happily accept a data center IP. And keeping browser sessions alive longer than the task actually requires. Ververlengden verhalming. Verwerp requirements beprunsav vermetamisi. Use data center proxies for easier targets. Save residential bandwidth for sites where block rates genuinely justify the cost difference. Treating residential as your default IP type for every target is an expensive habit, and most teams could cut that bill in half without any real drop in success rate. Vernuances de papibi biderhalm. Pick Decodo if you want a lower cost default for scraping public data, need fast onboarding without procurement friction, and your sessions run short to medium. It is the right call for most SEO teams, growth analysts, and engineers running standard collection pipelines where budget efficiency matters more than maximum configurability. Pick Bright Data if you genuinely need long sticky sessions, tighter enterprise-grade targeting, or you are moving towards scraping browser or SERP API rather than managing raw proxies yourself. It is built for teams that want one vendor to cover the whole extraction stack and can absorb the higher minimum commitments. There is also a third path that neither vendor will suggest. If your budget is tight and your targets are not heavily hardened, budget tier residential providers exist that undercut both of these significantly. Do not let brand recognition pull you into a more expensive tier than your actual use case requires. The proxy layer most teams get wrong. Here is something both Decodo and Bright Data will not surface in their positioning. Mobile carrier IPs behave differently from standard residential IPs on platforms that have invested in anti-bot systems. Social networks, ad platforms, and marketplaces increasingly treat carrier signal as a trust signal. A residential pool that happens to include some mobile device exits is not the same thing as a true mobile carrier IP with a clean, consistent carrier fingerprint. That is where Singapore Mobile Proxy fits into a stack like this. Real Singapore carrier IPs, sticky sessions, and DNS that routes through the tunnel so you are not leaking your actual resolver on the side and undermining the whole point of using a proxy. I want to be clear about what it is and what it is not. It is one layer in the system. If your scraper logic is broken, your session handling is sloppy, or you are hitting targets that flag you at the application layer, no proxy vendor fixes that. But if you are targeting Southeast Asian platforms, running accounts where mobile carrier signals affect how the platform treats you, or you just want a reliable mobile IP source with real sticky session support, it is worth putting through a test. Grab a trial at Singapore Mobile Proxy. And measure it against your current stack. The bottom line is simple. Decodo wins on price to utility for most workflows in 2026. Bright Data is the stronger enterprise platform, but you should only pay that premium if you truly need it. And if your targets care about carrier signal, neither of these covers that layer the way a real mobile IP does.